The Eurovision Song Contest is facing the biggest crisis in its history after 4 countries pulled out because of Israel's ongoing participation. Spain, Ireland, the Netherlands and Slovenia have decided they will not compete in 2026 after the organisers said Israel would be allowed to perform even after its genocide in Gaza. So, where does this leave Eurovision? Can it survive long term if it keeps backing Israel? Hello and welcome to Roundtable. I'm Enda Brady. Now, it's meant to be a celebration of European culture and a force for unity. But Eurovision has been rocked by a series of high-profile withdrawals. 4 countries have withdrawn from next year's event after the organisers refused to kick out Israel. 2026 will mark the 70th anniversary of the competition, but it now risks being overshadowed by a boycott.
United by Music has been the official Eurovision motto since 2023, but ahead of next year's contest in Austria, that unity has already fallen flat. Spain, Slovenia, the Netherlands and Ireland have all confirmed they'll be boycotting the 2026 competition in protest at Israel being allowed to take part despite its war in Gaza and ongoing human rights violations.
Spain doesn't forget. We don't forget the tragedy and the massacre suffered by Palestinian people, and we hope justice is made someday and the responsible ones are made to pay for it.
Despite such strong feelings, now backed up by action, the contest's organisers are confident the show must go on.
No way is a crisis. We've got 35 members or so going to join us next year. Now, I understand the 4 or 5 who might not come. That's their choice. I completely respect that. I very much hope they'll be back with us in 2027. And I also very much hope that they will still broadcast the show and allow those fans who want to watch the show to watch it. But again, that's their choice.
Next May, Vienna will take centre stage. And a competition already criticised for politicising music has a new controversy, but its organisers are not changing their tune.
Well, let's meet our guests for this one. Joining us from Zagreb in Croatia, we have Natalija Gorscak. She is president of the management board of Slovenia's public broadcaster RTV. From Luxembourg, we have Dean Vuletic. He is author and historian of the Eurovision Song Contest. And I'm delighted to say, Cork in Ireland, we have Joe O'Shea, who is an Irish broadcaster. You're all very welcome to Roundtable. Natalija, to you first, give us a sense of how big this crisis is now for Eurovision.
Well, I don't know if it's a big crisis, but there is a crisis, first of all, of ethics, of morality. And I think that just to say that just 4 of us are the ones who are empathic with the people who died in Gaza, with 20,000 children, 250 journalists, and with all the homes which were destroyed. I think this is not a good sign for Europe anyway.
Joe, give us an understanding of the strength of feeling in Ireland. We see weekly marches in Dublin and Belfast, in your city of Cork. How strongly do Irish people feel about not sharing a platform with Israel?
Well, it's funny because at the weekend when this came out, there was a survey done, a very quick survey done by our main Sunday newspaper, a national newspaper. They found that 79% of Irish people thought that this was the right thing to do, that not going to the Eurovision was the right thing to do. So that's basically 8 out of 10 Irish people. Just 16% of Irish people said they thought that Ireland should take part in the Eurovision. So the decision by our public broadcaster or state broadcaster not to take part in the Eurovision this year is pretty much overwhelmingly supported by Ireland, in Ireland. And that's right across the political spectrum, really. You know, right wing, centre right, left wing, everybody agrees on this basically, that we should not take part.
Dean, to you, 2026 is a very big year for Eurovision, the 70th anniversary of the Song Contest. How do you think they are navigating this now internally?
Well, This is one of the most serious crises that Eurovision has ever faced. I've researched and written about the whole history of Eurovision, and I really can say that we've never seen such a big political boycott in the contest. So this is going to be a huge challenge for the organizers next year to stage a celebratory event, which should really be a big party to celebrate the 70th anniversary of Eurovision, but it's going to be mired in political controversy. It already is. And it's going to be up to the organizers to see how they can manage the political debates, the political discussions, the political criticisms surrounding next year's edition.
Dean, do you worry that more countries might pull out?
I think we know already that most countries will not pull out. There are still a few more to confirm. So we have to wait and see which ones those will be. Iceland and Poland possibly could also boycott.
Natalija, give us a strength of feeling, if you would, from your country. How do people on the street feel about everything Israel has done in Gaza over the last 2 years plus?
Well, as my colleague from Ireland said, the public firmly support us, and people are really shocked by what happened in Gaza and are shocked by the reactions of the international community, because we think we didn't, it looks like, the people suffering in Gaza are worth less than any other sufferings, which is unhuman. So people in Slovenia are very empathic. We had the short war, we had a huge war in the Balkans, and we know what war means for the people. So maybe that's why we are much more our solidarity is bigger than solidarity anywhere else. Because when you see the after war time, all the consequences of the war, then you react to this. You just say no to the war. And I think that RTV Slovenia just answered to its public when we said no to the Eurovision. And as in Ireland, we get a lot of support for the public for our decision. And they are so proud that we, as such a small country, together with Ireland, Netherlands, and Spain, we said no.
Joe, to you, how do you think the state broadcaster RTE in Ireland has handled all of this? Because this will have come from the very top. They're obviously in tune with the sentiment on the street.
Yeah, I think actually RTE have handled this really well. And what they did was they said in no uncertain terms to the EBU, to the organisers of the Eurovision, that if Israel is involved this year, and we got to remember as well, this question was pushed almost forward from last year, when there was a decision should have been made and wasn't made last year. And we saw what happened then, and we saw what happened backstage and what the Israeli delegation were accused of, and of the Dutch entrant, Joost Klein, being forced out of the competition in very murky. What RT said was clear. We will not take part if Israel are taking part. We cannot morally take part. They said it from the start, and I think the Irish public have definitely backed them in this and said that it's the right decision to take. When Irish people have a certain affinity, perhaps, with the Palestinian people, because when Irish people saw images of starvation happening in Gaza, we remember our recent history, our fairly recent history of a terrible, terrible famine that in many ways was politically constructed by, we were a colony at the time of the British Empire. So the Irish people have a natural affinity with Palestinian people and with people who are oppressed anyway. So this wasn't a hard decision, I don't think, for RT to take.
Thanks, Joe. Dean, to you, talk to me about the countries involved here. I mean, Spain puts in a lot of money. It's one of the so-called Big Five. The Netherlands, one of the founding members in 1956. Ireland has won it more times than anyone apart from Sweden. I mean, this will be a big blow to the organisers.
It is absolutely a big blow to the contest. As you mentioned, Spain is one of the big five, so one of the biggest financial contributors to the contest. It's guaranteed a place in the grand final, a population of almost 50 million, so one of the biggest national audiences as well. And remember, Spain is a bridge for Eurovision to Latin America, and in recent years, the European Broadcasting Union has been trying to make Eurovision go global, also with the selling of franchises across the world. So this could also be a blow to Eurovision's ambitions to expand to Latin America. Then, of course, we have the Netherlands, which, as you mentioned, has been in the contest since 1956. It also recently hosted Eurovision in 2021 after its winner, Duncan Lawrence, who won in Tel Aviv in 2019, produced one of the biggest ever Eurovision hits. It's one of the biggest ever Eurovision songs on Spotify, for example. Ireland, 7-time winner, holds the record with Sweden, so it also has a powerful weight in that regard. And Slovenia, which might not have won Eurovision yet, but is also very important because it's a neighboring country of Austria, and it's not going to be attending Eurovision in its neighboring country next year. And I should point out that collectively, all of these countries are important because they are strong liberal democracies and they're members of the European Union, a bloc with which Israel wants to share political and social values. And that's also one of the reasons why Israel sees itself as an important member, a natural member of Eurovision.
Well, Natalija, just on that point, a lot of people would say Israel is not a natural member of Europe in any way, shape, or form. It's not in Europe. And yet the EBU seem hell-bent on keeping them in the competition at the expense of countries like you.
Well, the members decided that Israel stays, so it's not the EBU as organization, but the member organizations. I just think that, basically we should stick to the same rules when we are talking about Russia and when we are talking about Israel. This is the only thing I think we should always be very, very strict when we have a country which aggresses the other. There should be once we expelled the Russian singers, then we should expel also the Israeli. And I think that the best thing would be that Cannes itself would withdraw and not do the splits in the in the Eurovision. And if they would really care about the Eurovision, they would do that. But they can't do that because the regime in Israel, I just want to notify that there is a big difference between the regime and the people of Israel, because we know that half of the population in Israel don't support the regime they have now. So it's not this our act is not only the act. It's an act against regime in Israel. At this moment, which does what it does in Gaza and on the Western Bank. So we basically think that Israel, if they would withdraw, there wouldn't be any split in the Eurovision, and the next year they could come back. But now we know when they decided to be there, the reaction of everybody is, what are they doing? They are splitting us up, and this is not okay. So I think they will get the most harm out of persistently being in the Eurovision, because the fans are not stupid. The fans are people who read, they watch TV and they know what's happening in Gaza and on the Western Bank. So I think sooner or later the pressure of the fans towards the public services in the countries which remained in the Eurovision will be getting bigger and bigger. So it's not only our act is not only the act of moral and ethical attitude towards the people who are starving and dying who are starving and died in Gaza and are still dying. Also, if there is a peace treaty and all what's happening in the Western Bank, that this our attitude might be the right way to show to the Europe that we need to be solidary. You never know when things like this can happen to us. So if we are not solidary with them, who will be solidary with us?
Joe, to you, never mind the music, we'll park the performances to one side, but from a business perspective, population of Israel is 11 million, and the EBU are happy to see Spain, the Netherlands, Ireland, Slovenia, possibly more countries go. Why do you think they're so keen on keeping Israel in this thing?
I'm not sure, and I think the problem now is that the Eurovision is supposed to be a celebration, and the ethos is about peace, about bringing people together. Even if it goes ahead, even if we only 4 countries don't take part, what kind of party are we going to have in the Eurovision this year? What kind of relaxed celebration with people coming together? It's going to be tense. There's going to be a lot of political wrangling around it. There's going to be a lot of questions being asked of the Israeli delegation, of the EBU. The only story is going to be this, the boycott, the fact that many people do not want Israel to be there. It's not going to be in any way a celebration or a peaceful event. I think the EBU's been trying to hold the line and say, well, when it's not supposed to be a political event, but we don't want politics to come into it. But then again, other countries have not been allowed to take part before or have boycotted. You can't avoid it when you have a huge humanitarian catastrophe happening within a stone's throw of Europe, so to speak. To have a party with the state that's basically involved in accusations of genocide and war crime, it makes no sense whatsoever. In Ireland, we love the Eurovision. Of course, we love the Eurovision. We've won it 7 times. It's a big thing for the Irish state broadcaster, for Irish people to not take part. It wasn't a decision lightly taken. We wish we didn't have to, but unfortunately, Irish people believe we have to. And the EBU really needs to think very carefully about what kind of event they're going to be hosting and what kind of message they're trying to send the world when Israel joins the party next summer or next May.
Dean, to you, when Russia started its war in Ukraine 4 years ago, it was kicked out of a lot of political, sporting, cultural competitions. Israel's getting an easy ride here, isn't it?
Well, I think that we have to understand that there is a difference between the two cases, and that is international sanctions. So the European Broadcasting Union, when it says that it is a non-political organization, it indeed is that. It does not set foreign policies. It does not set the agenda in international affairs. And I think we should take it back even further to the first country that was excluded from Eurovision back in the early 1990s, and that was rump Yugoslavia, comprised of Serbia and Montenegro, which was no longer allowed to participate in Eurovision after 1992 because of UN sanctions against it. So the European Broadcasting Union was following those sanctions in not allowing Yugoslavia to participate. Now, the first time that the European Broadcasting Union actually does expel a member from Eurovision is in 2021, which it does to Belarus. And again, that's done in the context of European sanctions against Belarus due to the repressive policies of the Lukashenko government against the opposition movement. And then in 2022, we see Russia excluded from Eurovision following its invasion of Ukraine, and again in the context of broader European sanctions. So when these sanctions exist, then the European Broadcasting Union has a mandate to act. But otherwise, it doesn't have a political mandate to act. And we see now in this controversy surrounding Israel that the situation is reflecting political divisions in Europe over how to respond to Israel. So the European Broadcasting Union is not unique in finding itself in this dilemma.
Thanks, Dean. Natalija, just come in on the issue then of double standards, the Russians getting treated one way and the Israelis getting a free ride. Do you have a problem with that?
Well, we always have a problem because as a small country, we are always treated differently anyway, because we are not that powerful, we don't have a lot of money and not a lot of strength. But on the other hand, we think that, that we are living in the democratic society where rules should be the same. The basics of the democracy is the same legal, the same rules are for everybody. So we think that it's not correct that we don't have the same rules for all the participants, and that's why also we already said it 2 years ago why there are the double standards. and we didn't get the answer. And then we asked, last year, why should we go to the Eurovision? And until this year, nothing happened at the EBU. And this year, because of the of the this year competitor, we know that the act was political, and then the voting was, paid and everything. Then it happened, the first debate, the General Assembly in July in London. I think that we should have done, the debate much before, immediately after the few months of invasion in Gaza, when we realized that it was not only releasing the hostages, but it was also something else. So I think double standards shouldn't be tolerated in the democratic society.
Thanks, Natalija. Joe, I see some of the comments on social media saying, keep politics out of it. This is a song contest. Go and perform. What do you make of that argument?
Well, Dean will probably be able to tell you politics has never been able to keep politics out of the Eurovision one way or another. I mean, the revolution in Portugal in 1975, the signal for the army to go on the streets was the first playing of the Eurovision entry for Portugal that year. So politics has always been around the Eurovision. Normally, when it actually comes to the actual night, we manage to put it aside. This year, there's a shadow hanging over the Eurovision. There was last year. It wasn't dealt with. They tried to muddle through. They've kind of tried to muddle through again this year and say, well, we don't have the mandate. As Dean was saying, we can't make a decision on this. So unfortunately, it's a big shadow, as I say, hanging over the competition. I would not be surprised if it doesn't go ahead in its entirety, because the pressure is only going to grow and grow unless there's some sort of major political breakthrough or proper peace breakthrough actually in Gaza and Israel.
That's a very interesting point. Dean, just come in on Joe's prediction there. You love Eurovision. You write about it. You've studied the history of it. Are you worried that it may not even happen in its normal format?
I think it will continue in its normal format with fewer countries. Next year we will probably see fewer countries than ever since 2004, when the semi-finals were introduced to allow for more countries to participate. Eurovision has always been through crises. It has always survived crises. This is by no means the first, but as I said, it is unique because it will be the biggest political boycott. But I think we also need to remember that calls for this boycott have been going on for several years now, since 2019, when the Boycott, Divest, Sanctions movement, the pro-Palestinian movement, called for countries to boycott Eurovision when it was staged in Tel Aviv that year. And we've seen these calls for a boycott escalate in recent years due to the war in Gaza. So actually, this movement has now achieved its aim. It has gotten countries, or it has seen countries boycott Eurovision. And I think that this is going to be further fuel for this movement. I think it's also going to fuel protests in Vienna next year. So we're going to see another very politicized song contest. And as I said earlier, it's not going to be the party for the 70th anniversary celebration that we would want to see.
Natalija, is this Slovenia out now for 1 year, 2 years, or just if Israel keeps participating, do you think you'll stay out?
Well, we will decide on what will happen this year and what will be going on in Gaza and West Bank. But basically, we are always listening to our audiences. And if our audiences, will continue and ask us for not participating, we won't participate. Otherwise, we are willing, of course, to enter the Eurovision back. We are not the winning country, but we like to participate. It's big fun. As I said, I'm more Eurovision fan myself, but also, with all the suffering we saw, we will only suffer because we won't see the Eurovision, and it's not a big suffer.
Joe, I remember growing up in Ireland in the 80s, and it was a tough time. Life was hard, and the Eurovision came around every year, and it was like this joyful opportunity to showcase Irish culture and our music and our dance, and we embraced it. I find it quite sad that we're not going to be there. but I completely agree with the decision not to go.
Yeah, I mean, as with Slovenia, we're a small country. We're on the edge of Europe. We don't have a lot of political power, but we do have a voice. Even though it will be difficult for Irish people not to have the party this year, because we all have parties around it, it'll be difficult. But we want to take part. We want to make a stand, to make our voice heard, and to be on the right side of history. And I think that is what this is about.
And Dean, you're from Australia. Just give us a feeling about the sentiment then down under. Obviously, Israel's not in Europe. You guys clearly are not in Europe, but it gets a lot of audience, broadcast on SBS in Australia.
Yes, exactly. And Eurovision was popularized in Australia by the non-English speaking background migrant communities, for which SBS was created. It's a multilingual public service broadcaster. So in Australia, there are lots of different opinions. You know, people are very attached to their countries of origin as well. I'm sure you know this is also a very important issue for Australian Jews. So there are a lot of different opinions in Australia, but SBS has said that it will be participating next year.
Dean, thank you. To Joe in Cork and Natalija in Zagreb as well. Thank you all so much. Remember, you can see more discussion and debate on our YouTube channel. Just search for Roundtable TRT World. But for now, from me, Enda Brady, and all the team here, goodbye and thank you for watching.